I've got a little fact for you. You know I love a fact. Did you know that from 2022, parents have paid £41 million in, wait for it, school fines? I was floored. I couldn't believe that. I was like, what? I mean, my first response was, where's this money gone? Where's this £41 million? I mean, all we hear is the education sector is absolutely brassic. There's no money, but yet there's 41 million quid floating around somewhere from parents being fined for their children not being in school. Now, I've since learnt that it goes to the local authority. I don't think they're spending that on improving the EHCP programme. I don't think that is going back into education. I don't think the money that they've raised from their fines, the revenue, has gone back into education. Because if it did, I think the EHCP system may well be working okay. It's not. So where's the £41 million? It's a bit like the black hole. Well, it's disappeared into the local authority. But the question is, why are these parents being fined? Now, we obviously all know the answer of holidays. So parents simply are being priced out of the holiday market. So holiday companies put their prices up so much during the official holiday times that it means that a family can't go. So they're choosing to take their children out of holiday time and in term time. Now, teachers will argue that this is disruptive both for the child that's going and for the other children in the class. Don't necessarily disagree, and teachers will argue that they need to be at school throughout the whole school year so that they can benefit the most from their academia at school. Parents would argue a holiday gives a child life experience that a school never can, and parents would argue that a holiday with the family gives the family time that can't ever be replenished. It is time that you can't ever get back again, particularly when we all realise how quickly our children are growing up. Now, I'm not saying that we all cherish 10 hours in a car together going down to Cornwall arguing over which services you're going to stop at and who needs a wee. But what I am saying is that's what family is. We've all played How Many Yellow Cars Can You Spot? And it's what makes us who we are. It's what binds us together. It's what makes us understand, respect, love, feel connected, feel secure, and enjoy our time and our youth. And I feel very strongly that enjoyment of life is being sort of pushed to the side as we just follow the state conformity of what life should be. So I do empathise with families who have to take their children out in term time. And I feel like, you know what? Go for it. Honestly speaking, go for it. I think we would be better spent talking to the holiday companies who raise their prices through the roof so that families are priced out of the market. I, for one, as you know, have a holiday home in Norfolk. I do not do that. In fact, what I do is over the holiday time, I make my house available for shorter stays. So for families that can't afford a week or 2 weeks, I mean, God, who even goes on a 2-week holiday anymore? But for families that can't afford a week, I say it's possible for them to stay for 3 nights, just so that they've been able to go away and have a nice time. And I personally think we need to be looking more on that line, and then families wouldn't have to take their children out of school. They could go to school. But, you know, we don't all agree. But the other thing that is a massive factor and will play a huge percentage of these fines is families whose children can't access school in term time. Now, I've talked about this a lot before because people have in the state school versus VA independent sector. And I've said lots of children can't access state. And there's been what do you mean they can't access state? If it's good enough for the 93%, it should be good enough for them. Well, let me explain it quite simply because I don't want to do a massive long video on this, but I can come back and revisit it. So not accessing school means, from a neurodivergent perspective, from a mental health perspective, it's simply too much. It is a trauma response. It is a fear, it is a phobia, it is a step too far for a child. Now, when you've got a child who is developing both mentally, emotionally, and academically, there's a lot at stake here. And by forcing a child into school, at times that would mean physically taking them out of bed in their pyjamas, putting them in the car, or asking somebody to help you get them in the car and get them into school and plonking them in school. It does not mean that child will learn. It does not mean that child will access anything at school. It does not mean that child will benefit from anything from school. What it will mean is that child has now got a trauma experience of going to somewhere that gives them a trauma response. So when you have the local authority knocking on the door saying, right, here's a fine because your child didn't go into school, you might feel like saying, well, I tell you what, you do it. Go on, you go upstairs and you deal with that because I can't. And that's what it looks like. And as a mother of a child who has not been able to access school, there is no way I would have ever forced her. Ever. If her mental health and capacity was where it was, where she was physically, emotionally, and mentally unable to go to school, what good would anyone ever think would come of forcing her? So what I used to do was work with her, work with the school, work together, find a way where when she came down from her trauma response, we could do some work at home together. We could fill the gaps in. We could do it that way. And I would hope that any other human being would recognise that as a valid response to a trauma response. But no, the local authority would like to charge you. They would like to fine you. And it astounds me that we have people making these decisions with absolutely no background in mental health whatsoever, no background in neurodiversity. You might be lucky if you get somebody on the local authority that also has a shared lived experience, but it certainly won't be a job requirement. It certainly won't be something that they are asked to be capable of doing when they are applying for and then getting the job. It's just luck of the draw. So that is why for so many parents, their children aren't in school, and the state is fining them. The state is penalising them for wanting to have a family experience, or they're penalising them for having a neurodivergent child. Either way, £41 million is going somewhere into the local authorities, yet we're not emptying bins in Birmingham. We've got potholes like we've never seen before. We have an EHCP system which is on its knees. I mean, I could go on. You know where I'm going with this. So we've got the £22 billion fictitious black hole, but turns out we've got £41 million in revenue somewhere across the ether from penalising parents over holidays and neurodivergency in a system that seems to me not to be joined up. Now, I could be wrong with that. Somebody might send an email or put in the comment section that this is why this is and enlighten me. I genuinely would like to know, because on face value, that makes no sense whatsoever.